You're back. Good. I was hoping you would be. Gets lonely out here sometimes. Even for the dead. Maybe especially for the dead. The living, they've got each other. Got towns and families and all manner of distractions. But me, I've got these bones, this fire, and memories that stretch back further than I care to count. Tonight, I want to tell you about cards, about a game of poker that lasted 3 days and 3 nights, where the stakes weren't money or land or even gold, but something far more valuable, far more dangerous. I want to tell you about the Shadowfall Saloon and the man who tried to cheat the devil himself. Pour yourself some coffee if you've got it. This one's a long tale, and it gets cold out here in the deep hours. This happened back in 1889, or maybe it was 90, hard to say. There was a town called Shadowfall, about 50 miles south of here, nestled in a valley so deep the sun only hit it for a few hours each day. Strange place, Shadowfall. It attracted strange people, the kind who didn't quite fit anywhere else, the kind running from something or towards something equally dark. The saloon was the heart of the town, as saloons often were. 3 stories tall, red paint peeling like sunburned skin, with a sign that creaked in the wind, something terrible. Inside, it was all you'd expect. Bar along one wall, stairs leading up to rooms, and in the back corner, away from the windows, a poker table. That table, it was special. Made from wood so dark it was almost black, polished to a mirror shine, with carvings along the edge that looked like twisted faces if you stared at them too long. The owner, a woman named Delilah Thorne, she said it came from a ship that sank off the coast of some cursed island. Wouldn't surprise me if it was true. Now, on this particular October night, 5 men sat down at that table. 4 of them were regulars, gamblers and drifters who'd been playing at Shadowfall for years. The 5th, he was new, called himself Mr. Scratch. Dressed all in black he was, with a coat that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, and a hat with a brim so wide you could barely see his face in the dim saloon light. His hands, though, his hands were pale, elegant, with long fingers that moved over the cards like spider legs. And his eyes, when you caught a glimpse of them, they were wrong. Not evil exactly, just wrong. Like looking into a well that went down forever. Like staring at something that was looking back with an intelligence too old, too vast, too hungry. The game started simple enough. 5-card draw, standard rules, modest stakes. The regulars didn't much like this Mr. Scratch fellow. Didn't trust the way he smiled without showing teeth. Didn't like how the temperature seemed to drop whenever he laughed. But his money was good. Silver dollars that rang true when dropped on the table. So they played. Hours passed. The saloon emptied as patrons went home or upstairs or passed out in corners. The dealer, a Chinese man named Chen, who'd seen more than his share of strange things in his time, kept shuffling, kept dealing. His face expressionless, but his hands trembling slightly whenever they got near Mr. Scratch. One by one, 3 of the regulars lost everything and left the table. Broke, bitter, but alive and whole. just poorer than when they'd sat down. That left 2 players, Mr. Scratch and a man named William Lucky Bill Carson. Now, Lucky Bill, he was something of a legend in those parts. He'd never lost a poker game, not in 20 years of playing, not once. Some said he was touched by fortune. Others said he cheated better than anyone else. But either way, he won. Always won. Until that night. By sunrise of the second day, a crowd had gathered. Word had spread through Shadowfall that Lucky Bill was in a game with a stranger. And people came to watch, to witness what they thought would be another inevitable victory for their local hero. But Bill wasn't winning. He wasn't losing badly, mind you, but he wasn't winning either. And for a man who always won, that was the same as losing. The piles of chips in front of Mr. Scratch kept growing, slowly, steadily, like a tide coming in. Bill's face was pale, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool October air. His hands shook when he reached for cards, when he sipped his whiskey, when he counted his dwindling chips. Perhaps, Mr. Scratch said, his voice smooth as silk and cold as a January river, we should raise the stakes, make things more interesting. I'm near tapped out, Bill said, and you could hear the desperation creeping into his voice. Got maybe $300 left. You've taken near everything else. Oh, I wasn't talking about money, Mr. Scratch said, and when he smiled, just for a moment, his teeth looked too sharp, too numerous. I was thinking we could wager something more personal. The crowd stirred, uneasy. Delilah Thorne, watching from behind the bar, made a sign against evil. Chen stopped shuffling mid-deck. What do you mean? Bill asked, though I think part of him already knew, already understood what kind of game he'd really sat down to play. Mr. Scratch leaned back in his chair, those spider-like fingers steepled in front of his face. Your luck, Mr. Carson. That's what makes you special, isn't it? That's what defines you. I'll wager everything I've won tonight against it. One hand, winner takes all. Bill should have walked away. Any sane man would have. But Lucky Bill, he'd built his whole life, his whole identity, on being the best poker player in 3 territories. The thought of walking away from a challenge, of admitting defeat, it was more than his pride could bear. And if I win? He asked. If you win, you get your money back. And I'll throw in something extra. Let's say 20 years added to your life. Healthy years. Vital years. I can do that, you know. I have that power. The crowd gasped. Chen actually stepped back from the table, shaking his head. But Bill, he looked at those long, pale fingers, at those wrong eyes, and he said, "Deal." Chen dealt the cards with hands that could barely hold the deck. I heard later that he was praying under his breath, prayers in Chinese and English both. Prayers to any god who might be listening to forgive him for facilitating this abomination. Bill picked up his cards. His expression didn't change, didn't flicker, but his breathing quickened. He had a good hand, maybe a great hand. I'll never know exactly what it was because he never told anyone,
and the cards were burned after the game. But it was enough to give him hope. Mr. Scratch looked at his own cards with the barest hint of a smile.
"Shall we bet, Mr. Carson?"
"I'm all in," Bill said, pushing forward his chips and, though he didn't say it, though there were no physical tokens for it, his luck. That strange, indefinable quality that had made him special, that had carried him through 2 decades of gambling. It sat on the table between them like an invisible third player. "Call," Mr. Scratch said simply. The saloon was so quiet you could hear the clock ticking on the wall, could hear people breathing, could hear Bill's heart hammering in his chest like a trapped bird. "Show your hand, Mr. Carson." Bill laid down his cards, 4 aces and a king, a near unbeatable hand, the kind of hand that comes once in a lifetime, the kind that justified every confidence Bill had ever had in his luck. The crowd erupted in cheers. People clapped Bill on the back, called for drinks, celebrated what they thought was an impossible victory against an impossible opponent.
Bill himself smiled, relieved, reaching for the chips, for his returned fortune, for his luck that would remain his own. And then Mr. Scratch laid down his cards, 4 kings and an ace. The saloon fell silent. Someone dropped a glass, the sound of it shattering impossibly loud in the sudden quiet. That's impossible," Bill whispered. "There are only 4 aces in a deck. I have them all. You can't have..." He looked at the ace in Mr. Scratch's hand, really looked at it. And that's when he saw. The card was wrong, subtly wrong, the design slightly off, the color not quite right. It wasn't from Chen's deck. It wasn't from any deck that belonged in the mortal world. "You cheated," Bill said, his voice hollow. "Did I?" Mr. Scratch's smile widened, those 2 sharp teeth gleaming in the lamplight. "I simply played with my own deck. You never specified which deck we were using, Mr. Carson. An oversight on your part. A costly one." He stood, and as he did, he seemed to grow taller, the shadows around him deepening, stretching. "Our business is concluded. Thank you for the game, and for your luck. I'll enjoy using it." Mr. Scratch walked toward the door, his black coat swirling around him. As he passed through the entrance of the Shadow Falls saloon, he simply faded, like smoke in wind, leaving nothing behind but the smell of sulfur and the sound of distant, mocking laughter. Bill sat at that table for 3 more hours, staring at nothing, his 4 aces still spread in front of him. Finally, Delilah convinced him to leave, got him upstairs to a room, put him to bed like a child. The next day, Lucky Bill tried to play poker again. Lost. Tried again the next week. Lost worse. Within a month, he'd lost everything. His house, his horse, even the clothes off his back. The luck that had defined him, that had carried him for 20 years, was gone. Taken by something dark and hungry and far older than the game of poker itself. Last I heard, Bill was living in a mining camp up north, working as a cook. The poorest job for the poorest pay. He never touched a deck of cards again. Couldn't stand the sight of them. As for Mr. Scratch, well, he's been seen in other saloons, in other towns, always looking for another game, another fool willing to bet what shouldn't be wagered. Now you might be wondering why I'm telling you this story, stranger. After all, you're not a gambler, are you? You're not sitting down to poker games with devils. But here's the thing I've learned in my long dead years. We're all gambling, all the time. We're all betting pieces of ourselves on uncertain outcomes, wagering our time, our health, our integrity on the hope of something better, something more. And sometimes we don't even realize we're in a game until we've already lost. The devil, or whatever Mr. Scratch was, he didn't force Bill to play, didn't hold a gun to his head or threaten his family. He just offered a bet, and Bill's pride, Bill's need to prove himself, that's what did him in. Pride. It's killed more men than bullets ever have, trapped more souls than any curse. I should know, I'm one of them. My pride told me I deserved that gold, told me I was smarter than old Apache warnings, told me I could take what I wanted and damn the consequences. And now look at me, bones and regret, sitting by a fire in a canyon, telling stories to strangers in the hope that maybe, someone will listen, will learn, will be smarter than I was. If you remember nothing else from tonight, remember this. Some games aren't worth playing, no matter how good your hand looks. Some bets aren't worth making, no matter how confident you feel. And if someone offers you something that seems too good to be true, if they want to wager for your soul, or your luck, or any essential part of what makes you yourself, you walk away. You walk away and you don't look back. Because there's no winning in a game like that. The house always wins in the end. And the house, well, sometimes the house is something far darker than you ever imagined. Silas's bone fingers add another piece of wood, sending up a shower of sparks. It's getting late now, and the canyon gets cold when the fire dies. You should rest if you're staying, or move on if you're going. Either way, watch yourself out there. And if you ever find yourself in a saloon called Shadowfall, if you ever see a man in black with eyes that go down forever, asking if you want to play cards, you do me a favor. You tell him Silas Crow says hello, and then you run. Good night, stranger. May your luck stay your own. The end.